Well, it's 7:33. I guess I'll get started. When Nina comes in, I'll add her as a speaker. Um, Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is what I call a good faith space. It's something that I've been able to hold every week, 7:30 p.m. every Wednesday. Um, and we talk about different things, things I'm interested in generally. And then I put together a panel and we discuss it. So before we get into the topic, let's introduce everybody thus far. We will start with Audra. Audra, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Audra. I'm I'm a I'm I'm kind of new. Let's start with that. I'm new.
All right. How about this? What do you do for a living?
I am a paralegal, or I'm a paralegal for our local prosecutor's office.
Okay, cool. Um, we'll go with Lady Bullet if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm BX Bullet TV. As of yesterday, I guess I no longer stream on Twitch, but you can find me on YouTube, where I am currently embroiled in a battle against big tech platforms and their negligence when it comes to user safety, particularly that safety that involves children. I'm a women's self-defense advocate. I've been a firearms trainer for over 10 years now, and I'm a licensed private investigator. So on my YouTube channel, I do some live streams and some videos on those types of topics. So yeah, really excited to be here. I've got just a lot of thoughts on this topic.
Okay, great. Thank you for introducing yourself. We will go to Nina. Nina, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, I'm Nina Infinity. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I do good news reports actually on Fridays because I want to balance out the world with all the negativity that's going on out there. So I'm doing a show called Infinite Hope, and that's where you can find me on Fridays at 2:45 Eastern. I'm also on several other live podcasts, like on Midnight's Edge on Mondays for Toxic Femininity, and on the Real BBC with Nerdrotic and As Heel versus Babyface on their channels. So really happy to be here, though. And I'm very vocal right now on Twitter with regards to what's going on in Canada, because I'm Canadian, and what's going on with the trucker convoy. I have a lot of opinions about that. So my Twitter is very active, Nina7Infinity. Follow me on there. I announce where I am usually with live streams and everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nina. And Tara, you're going to introduce yourself.
Hi, Adam. Hi, everybody. I am I guess, Twitter Spaces host. I wasn't until last year when they started this new ability on Twitter. I found my voice within the stock market world as a sort of activist investor. We kind of seem to be in a battle against not only Wall Street, lack of transparency, and sort of this retail versus the man kind of thing, but also big tech censorship. As I grew a voice on this platform, I noticed a trend with getting shadow banned and getting sort of cut off at the knees, taken out of the algo, stuff like that, because it seems a lot of people within mainstream media and some others, big entities, don't really appreciate the things that I have to say, and they don't really want the world to hear it. So I'm super excited to be a part of this call, as I can relate firsthand with big tech censorship and the effects that it has. It's extremely frustrating. So yeah, that's what and I was lucky enough to find Adam because of the things going on in his tweet regarding Joe Rogan, who is someone that I advocate for. I don't believe in cancel culture, and I think everyone, should have a voice.
Thank you, Tara. And it's been great meeting you and getting to know you in a very short period of time. So I'll introduce myself for people who are not familiar with me. My name is Adam Coleman. I'm the author of a book called Black Victim to Black Victor. which gives social commentary about race and culture while also telling my personal story. I'm also the founder of Wrong Speak Publishing, which is an outlet, what I like to say, it's free speech with intellectual thought. So if anybody ever wants to write an article and express themselves, feel free to contact me. And obviously, I host the space every week thus far for a few months now. So it's been going well, and so we'll continue with this episode. So just to kind of give you guys like a little bit of background, I usually set up these spaces maybe 4 or 5 weeks ahead, right? And big tech censorship is always like a topic at hand. It's just so coincidental that the whole Joe Rogan situation, the battle between misinformation, and trying to silence him is happening at this particular moment, and we're here to talk about it. I will say, outside of Joe Rogan, though, there's been 2 major moments that were extremely concerning to me about censorship. The first one, and this is outside of whether you like this person or not, but it's the idea. After January 6th, Donald Trump got banned from basically all the major tech platforms. The idea that these corporate conglomerates can get together and ban him, not just ban a person, but ban our sitting president and prevent him from actually speaking. Whether you like him or not, it's not the point. It's the idea that they're able to take what we consider the most powerful man in the world, so to speak, and silence him is extremely concerning. So that's one particular event that sticks out in my head when it comes to big tech censorship. I would say I had a second one, but it just lost me. But I think my biggest concern is with all of our speech being turned into a town hall forum, and we only have a few into a town hall forum, and we only have a few forums, then what happens when they disappear? Or when we disappear from these forums, like when we're cut off from our discussions. Actually, I remember the second thing that was concerning, and it revolves around January 6th as well. Parler. Parler was blamed for January 6th, even though it had nothing to do with January 6th. It was all, corporate nonsense and basically get rid of their competitor. So they found a reason. Amazon joined in, cut off their services illegally, breaking their own contract. They didn't care, and basically got rid of a tech platform. And as much as people say, well, go and build your own, well, they did. And then what did they do? They punished them for it. And maybe part of Parler's fault was trusting Amazon to even build on it. But nevertheless, they did it. They were blamed for something they had nothing to do with as a precursor to get rid of their competition. So, big tech censorship is something that to me, it seems to be a growing problem and a growing concern. So we'll go with Audra. What are some of the concerns that you have when it comes to big tech censorship, or any particular moments that have stuck out to you?
For me, some of the moments that really stuck out to me was about the whole COVID situation. I also happen to have a bachelor's of applied health science, and so I've been extremely critical of how COVID communications and communications surrounding COVID have been. I think they've been confusing. I think they've been just not open to hearing other ideas, and just this constant censorship of basic things like natural immunity. And I think when you silence scientific discussion, that's when things start to get really dangerous, because the best medicine is developed from scientific minds who get together and they debate certain things that, you and I might not consider to even debate. So that really stuck out to me. And I think the other thing that has really stuck out to me is My poor husband, I love him to pieces, but he has been to Facebook jail now about 3 times because of a few issues where Leah Thomas, for example. So if for those of you who don't know her, Leah Thomas is a trans woman who is participating on the women's sports team. And he literally made just a simple comment like, no, that's not a woman, that's a guy. No wonder he's number 1 on the swim team. And he immediately got banned. And so for me, those are 2 big issues I see right now with big tech censorship.
All right. Lady Bullet, what do you think? What are some of your concerns?
Yeah, so you guys both touched on really good topics. You know, for what you touched on, Adam, censorship of our own president and censorship of supporters of our president really equates to suppression of political dissent. And for the COVID stuff, you know, suppression of one side of the scientific debate that was definitely going on. There was absolutely, I mean, I have a biology degree as well. People hate it when I try to pull that card because I am technically a scientist. But, whenever you have, obviously, anytime you have something going on in the science community, you have people who say, no, I don't agree with that because blah, blah, blah. There's never something that scientists just universally agree on. That's just simply not science. So both of these are examples of suppression of information, and the result to me is propaganda. So when most of the people in the country get a large amount of their news from Twitter, from Facebook, that they're basically media corporations at this point. They're basically no longer just free thinking social forums where people share what lunch they had. I know we all remember the good old days, right? When everyone just posted their food and dogs. And I feel like that time has long passed. And we're at a point now where the president of the United States, health officials, they're using these media, social media as a way to communicate with the public. So suppression of any criticism is absolute propaganda. And I've got a lot to say. I'll pass the torch along, but hopefully eventually we'll get into talk a little bit about the Section 230 issue, because what I'm dealing with right now personally on live streaming platforms like Twitch and YouTube, I'm in a huge battle with Twitch after I think that I've been shadow banned there for a while. But I've been speaking out about their failure to take sex predators off the platform. And so unfortunately, it's a really complex issue. It's not as easy as just saying, 230 has to stay or else censorship will be worse. We have to do away with 230 for the sex, to keep these companies liable. It's a super complex issue. So hopefully we'll get into that. But yeah, I'll pass it along. I won't keep rambling.
All right, I appreciate that. Nina, what are some of your concerns?
You guys, the ladies have already really hammered out some of the biggest issues going on right now. I've been talking about the COVID stuff on YouTube since this started, since very early on, 2020, almost like 2019, end of 2019, 2020. And it's been an uphill battle. I have never gotten banned because I know how to play the game, and it is a game that we've all had to censor ourselves. We've all had to kind of think of new words to say instead of other words, and the audience is constantly keeping up with the different words that we use to describe whatever it is that we're describing. And it's like that about a lot of things, not just COVID. Audra, touched on the LGBTQ thing. There is a lot of censorship going on about that kind of stuff. I mean, we all know what happened with Dave Chappelle and that whole situation. And I mean, even speaking on this topic right now on Twitter, I'm shocked that we're not already off of it because certain things have been said, like about natural immunity. So it's really, really strange. But right now, the other thing that's going on, which is kind of like in correlation with everything that you talked about, Adam, with regards to Spotify and everything else right now, and you brought up January 6th, Canada is experiencing something really similar right now in Ottawa with regards to the trucker convoy. So basically the media and big tech have been trying to paint these people as Nazis and white supremacists and, just very ugly words to describe this movement, this beautiful, peaceful movement that has absolutely been peaceful while, we all experienced a couple of summers ago when the BLM riots were happening with regards to what happened with George Floyd, and how the narrative was then and how they were mostly peaceful protests. But what's happening in Canada right now is being called, an occupation of just basically people who are the worst of humanity. And it's anything but. If you just go and see some of the live streams going on by Viva Fry or any of the Canadians on the ground actually doing journalistic work, we've lost journalistic integrity, and big tech is a part of that, is a big, huge part of that, of just putting out absolute, complete propaganda and nonsense all the time. So it's up to us as individuals now, especially if you're on the ground. If you're on the ground in Ottawa, go out there, see what's happening, live stream yourself, tell the people what's going on, because the media is not doing it.
Yeah, you said a lot there. I actually want to go towards what Audra was talking about in regards to her husband getting banned, when he basically stated that, that's a man. Actually, before I go into that, Tara's back. So let me go to Tara before I add my 2 cents. Hold on 1 second. Tara, are you there?
I'm here. I made it back.
I'm glad you're back. All right. Before I add my 2 cents, I'll let you speak. What are some of the concerns you have when it comes to big tech censorship?
Well, for me personally, it's this issue of, the media seems to be controlled by a few entities. And other than that, you can't seem to find any real genuine information out there. And then anytime, anything starts to catch steam, the media puts a twist on it, hashtags get removed from trending, stuff like that. So there's a major issue that I think needs to be recognized with, this narrative. And if you go against the narrative or you speak out, you basically get your account shut down. You get removed from social media. You have to fit in the cookie cutter. You have to stay in line, or sit down and shut up. And I'm just not the type of person who wants to do that. And the more they push back, the more I want to push back. So I guess I'm encouraging others to use their voices. I'm in this ongoing battle with people who want to see, I guess, the financial sector looked at under a microscope. Certain things happened that should have never happened. They've never happened before. Last January, in regard to the stock market, we were stuck on house arrest, if you will, because of COVID. We were all trapped in our homes, and a lot of people got intrigued by the GameStop situation, along with other meme stocks. And from there were things that happened that were unfair. They were not right. And they had negative effects on everyday people like me and you who invest in the stock market. Retail investors had the buy side of trades taken away while people were still, I don't know who, but people were, well, I mean, I know who, but people were still able to dump their, stocks. And it was just a complete fiasco within the stock market. And it's been completely swept under the rug. They've acted like nothing, there's nothing to see here. Nothing was wrong with what happened, although it was unprecedented. It never happened before. No one was aware that it could happen, and it hasn't happened again since January 28th of last year. So I'm just a huge advocate, and proponent for getting the real facts out there, the real information out there. And I feel like, money controls everything in this country and in the world. And I feel like we're up against some serious big hitters. And it's interesting how much power they actually have over networks, news networks, mainstream media, and also social media. So they're able to have hashtags completely wiped, scrubbed. We've been effectively able to get hashtags trending that certain big entities didn't appreciate. They would just get rid of them. So on Twitter. So it's been an interesting ride. It's been really, really crazy to be a part of it, but also witness it. I don't know if you guys are aware of who Charles Payne is. I was lucky enough to be invited on his show on Fox Business, and as a retail investor there, and he is one of, I think, honestly, the only person in mainstream media that I'm aware of who actually advocates for retail investors, for everyday normal people like myself. And he actually just had an ongoing issue with Twitter where they completely shut him out of his account for over a week. We all changed our profile pictures to his picture. We hashtagged Free Charles Payne. I mean, it was a huge deal. And it's wild to me that the one person who advocates for us is the one person who social media, Twitter, fired back at and locked him out of his account during a really crucial time of certain events playing out here. So it's just been interesting to be a part of it. And I think that it all kind of coincides. A lot of different things are happening. You look at what's going on with Joe Rogan, with Canada, freedom of speech, and it all falls under that umbrella of freedom of speech. And are we actually free? Do we actually have the freedom to, say how we feel, or do we have to fit in this cookie cutter sort of mold?
Real quick, Tara, you're totally right about Twitter censorship with regards to hashtags, and I think it's also really funny that they make up their own trends. So like you'll just watch like the trending section, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, like this thing is trending, and it has only like 1,000 tweets or like 2,000 tweets, and you're like, this is definitely not a topic that should be trending. So
exactly, Nina, 100%.
You're totally right.
I've noticed that too, actually, recently. That what I was going to say before is, Audra's situation with her husband for misgendering, let's just say that. Amongst other things, like, for example, Project Veritas, deciding that Project Veritas isn't journalism, right? And overall, I think everything kind of comes down to big tech choosing who's the winner and who's the loser in certain discussions. The New York Post being censored when they tried to bring out Hunter Biden's laptop information, trying to claim that it was hacked information when it clearly wasn't, right? They were choosing a winner and a loser in that situation as to what is journalism and what's not. I would even go as far as when they want to give the illusion that they're trying to be objective by outsourcing it to third parties, our fact checkers who tell us what is real, or actually I should say what is mostly real and mostly false, or whatever way they want to describe it. It's that kind of thing that I've noticed where they have so much power to decide what we can discuss and what we can't discuss. It's one thing to block somebody for harassment, right? And I don't think any one of us would say big tech shouldn't moderate their own platform, right? I think there's certain behavior that's tolerable, it's not tolerable, and I get it if they want to moderate it to a certain degree. But when they specifically go after certain groups or go after, we mentioned Trump before, Trump he didn't violate any terms on their platform that led for him to get banned. This happened outside the platform. Meanwhile, if that's the new marker for getting banned, then terrorist organizations will get banned too. There's plenty of hate groups that are on here as well. They just don't call them hate groups because they're foreign. But
well, it's funny that you say that, Adam, because they banned Donald Trump, but they still had like Ayatollah Khomeini saying the weirdest tweets on there, like the very, very anti-American tweets. And I'm Persian, so I can talk on that, all day about the different types of people that are on Twitter that have a platform, and then you have like the American president be banned. And Twitter is an American company, so it's actually kind of it's wild that you would ban the president of the United States off this platform.
Well, I also think, I'm sorry to jump in, but the Prostasia organization, I have been trying to get them banned off Twitter for their pro-pedophile gross stuff. If you want to jump into a really dark place, go to the Prostasia Foundation. I actually wrote a pretty cool article, I think, for Adam B. Coleman on Ron Speak about it. But to me, I don't understand how this organization that's clearly pro-pedophile is allowed to tweet every single. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And the worst part about them is they're using almost LGBTQ plus language that, to me, it hurts the community. It must hurt their community, because I think they've spent a lot of decades trying to separate themselves from pedophilia. There's been a lot of misconception of gay people that, oh, you're a pedophile when you're gay. And the idea that these people are trying to sneak their way in. I don't understand how Twitter still has them.
That's also this is a big bag, man, because that is also it's something that actively happening right now. I also did a show about this exact topic and the idea that the mainstream media is trying to push the narrative that being a pedophile is a sexual orientation. I did a show on that a couple of weeks ago on my channel with Brittany Venti, and actually we had a pedophile sympathizer jump in and try and defend that stance. And it was a wild show. So check it out on my channel. It's called Breaking the Narrative. And but it was really crazy, because what you guys are stating, and also BX Bullet is talking about, is 100% correct. These platforms are definitely protecting certain individuals, especially like pedophiles, sexual deviants, predators of all sorts. And it's wild, because these organizations are, I think, from top to bottom, completely corrupt, and probably have a lot of those kind of people among them. So they're protecting them for a reason.
Yeah, if I could jump in.
I really wish Bullet was here. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bullet.
Yeah, so I'm working on a situation right now. I've got a YouTube video on my channel up. I'll have another YouTube video up tomorrow that's basically exposing this exact problem on Twitch. Where basically this pro-pedophilia stance, and even as far as a man who I found to be preying on children, like actively, not just saying hypothetically, like actively harming people, that we've been trying to get banned for over 2 years, and Twitch has been suspiciously quiet about it. They have not done a thing. So I'm working on a big kind of expose. So I mean, you can go watch the recap of that on my YouTube channel, and tomorrow hopefully I'll have another one finished that's kind of exposing how Twitch's response to this has been so subpar. And then when you consider that Twitch is notorious for banning people for the most absurd reasons, like the new one right now is that they're banning people for saying the word cracker, and not even in a derogatory sense necessarily. Just that, they ban people for ridiculous stuff. They ban people for COVID misinformation. They're banning people for controversial opinions all the time. I've felt like the right is definitely not necessarily censored by the platform itself, but by the other people on the platform who basically just bully and brigade people with alternate opinions. I mean, you have no idea how many times I've been brigaded online, and people try to just bully me off the platform because they don't, like what I'm saying. But yeah, the big problem with that, the pedophile sympathizer point of view seems to be growing in popularity, while simultaneously, suppressing people who find that point of view disgusting. Like, as I think all of us probably do in this call.
Tara, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up, I think I'm not sure who it was who was unable to attend the call, but he had a tweet that went viral regarding Joe Rogan being, basically canceled, and then yet no one really has talked about the Ghislaine stuff that's going on. So Maxwell. So in regard to, this pedophilia stuff and just things that are sort of kept under wraps, never brought to light, and talk about just people who are voiceless. Children are voiceless. They don't have the means to represent themselves. They don't have the means to, go seek legal help or so yeah, to me, it's just bizarre. I can't even wrap my mind around that. I was unaware, but I was aware of this, recent push for that being a sexual orientation, which I am fully against, and I don't care what anyone has to say about it. I'll take that stand right here, right now. But yeah, I try to be careful here because, being involved with I guess the financial world is a whole mix of people, everyone with different beliefs from different sides of the aisle and whatnot. But I do have certain beliefs myself, and there are certain lines that I feel like should never be allowed to be crossed, and that is definitely one of them. So that's wild to me to know. I mean, I'm dealing with being shadow banned myself for being, an advocate for people in the retail world, while there are people, running around Twitter advocating for that. That is absolutely insane.
The pedo stuff is wild because even on Twitter, like, I didn't know about any of this either. I got into this like not very long ago because of just something very offhand that I just happened to be thrown into. And then I found out that there's basically like almost active people who advocate for this stuff on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't do anything about it. It's really crazy. It's wild. It's wild. So it's the same thing as Bullet was saying about Twitch. It also happens on YouTube, and it's really crazy.
Well, yeah, that was something that I put out too, just really quick, in regard to Spotify canceling, Joe Rogan or removing his podcasts. I've yet to see R. Kelly get removed, and he's been convicted. He's now serving time, found guilty for, these crimes that you guys are speaking on, underage stuff and trafficking and all of these things. Yet his music is still there. No one's boycotting it, and it's bizarre to me.
Well, Audra, I just wanted to say real quick that what was kind of bizarre to me is, I don't know, like I said, I've been watching Prostasia in particular for about, I want to say, a year, because I like to keep up with that. I like to keep up with that stuff. I want to make sure that I'm on the up and up of everything new. And what blew my mind was the USA Today Life decided to publish an article with 2 researchers from that organization about their pedophile research. And I pulled statistics from the U.S. Department of Justice. I mean, I don't know where they're getting their numbers from, but our numbers are very different. So it's clearly a pro-pedophile angle, especially the idea that they're trying to rename pedophile into a MAP or a minor attracted person. It's just it's junk science, basically. And the worst part about it is I think some people are actually falling for it. You know, there's people walking around who really do think that, you know, a pedophile who's raped a child like has gotten help, and so they're gonna like not reoffend, even though we have arrest records. I mean, we have all kinds of stuff. So I just think it's interesting to me. Even the psychology community, when I looked up on Psychology Today, they said most people who abuse children aren't pedophiles. I'm thinking, how? How is that true? You would certainly not assume. I mean, it kind of, it's weird to me. Why, what do you think their problem is? I mean, that was my next thought and question. But, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's just, it's almost like this medicalization of evil that is going around?
It's bizarre. And you're right about the statistics that show that child sex offenders are extremely likely to reoffend, which is one of the reasons why they're kept on a registry, you know. And while we're talking about like online spaces, and I've had talks about this in the past as well, that bad guys don't just sit in white panel vans anymore. Bad guys are now online, predominantly online. This is where they target kids. This is where they get them. They lure them from gaming organizations. They befriend them on Twitter. You know, so these social platforms have become just like a hunting ground for predators to pull kids in, and then these kids go missing. They're sexually trafficked. They're you know, or they're sexually abused. And so we have to be extremely cautious, especially when we approach this subject from the viewpoint of, you know, access to the internet for these people. Like, I mean, I know this is probably a big bag of worms, but I was thinking about this last night kind of randomly, which is like, you know, when I'm dealing with this predator that I've been dealing with for so long, I wish there were a way to restrict their internet access the same way we restrict them from coming near schools. You know, we do that because that's where kids are. That's where kids are likely to be harmed. And so I know that's a big bag of worms because it's a big slippery slope. Like, who else are we going to restrict access to the internet for? But it's just kind of a thought that I had. Like, how do we keep kids safe online? There definitely needs to be a more like a bigger discussion in this country about online safety, and there need to be pushes for new laws to be put into place that can help protect kids online.
I think you're right about it being a really mixed bag of worms, because, or like a slippery slope, because, you know, when you give the government or any sort of private organization the means to basically regulate you, they'll regulate you, and then they will do it for everybody, and then nobody will, you know, everybody will get screwed over. But I think what you're talking about, and I really truly mean this, I think it starts in the home. Mostly, you know, having parents understanding what their kids' activity is going on and on Twitter. Get your kids, or online in general. Get your kids off TikTok. Can I just say this, please? Like, everybody, please, for the love of God, like, TikTok is just, it's no. Like, we need to just stop it. Stop with the TikTok. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. I am a huge advocate for educating parents because, so I'm a private investigator, and I do pro bono work for missing children cases. I don't like to take payment from parents who are missing their children. You know what I mean? And I've dealt with these cases where parents are just like bewildered. Well, I don't know what she's doing online. I have no idea what's what Discord is, what's Fortnite. Some of the parents are foreign, first generation Americans, have no clue, barely speak English, and because of that, their kids are at risk. So you're right, it does start in the home, and we need a bigger educational pushes to get out to parents to helicopter the out of your kids online. At some point you do have to have full access to what they're doing on the internet. Absolutely.
All right. All right. Side note, I feel like every episode that I do, we somehow get onto pedophilia and our concerns about it. That's just something that I just noticed. But one thing, to bring it back to a little bit to the censorship part of involving big tech, I think what most people ultimately want, because there's going to be moderation that's going to exist on these platforms. I think what most people want is two things: consistency and transparency, right? And how is it that you're banning someone for saying something, but when someone else says the same thing, it's okay? That's not being consistent. People who get, I think Bullet had mentioned, when someone gets targeted, they mass report their post and then Twitter just suspends you and you have no idea why. You have no idea for how long, if you come back, if you won't come back, or anything like that. There's no real transparency. They just they get bombarded with reports, and they just, you have to appeal it, and then it becomes this whole arbitrary nonsense surrounding it. And that's a form of, kind of harassment, or at least it slows down your speech. So I think those two things, at least for me, and I think for many people, it doesn't seem to be any consistency, which is why, from a political perspective, it seems like the left gets away with more than the right does. It feels like they've picked their side. They've picked who they want to censor. They've picked the narratives they want to support. They picked the information that they want to project out into the world. And basically, it seems to lean left. I'm sure there are people who are on the left who've gotten censored for certain things. And I'm not trying to be completely partisan or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, when the tech platforms decide what speech is, not even what speech, what narrative is the correct narrative, I think that's the part where I'm like, well, how is that okay? And this whole thing about COVID misinformation, I really would love to see like an autopsy report where they say died from misinformation. The way that they talk about the COVID misinformation, like people just dropping dead because they turned on the wrong podcast.
You're right, Adam, because that's what the whole ridiculous part about the whole Joe Rogan thing was, right? Because Joe Rogan has always had both sides of the aisle speaking about things. Like, he had Sanjay Gupta on, and he's the CNN lead doctor on the COVID-19 thing. A week after he had Sanjay Gupta on, Sanjay Gupta went on TV and started talking about how Elmo should be getting the jab, for the kids, and just the most random propaganda bullshit that you could possibly see. But my point is that he's always had both sides on, and somehow when he had these two doctors on, Dr. Malone and Dr. Pierre Corey, these two doctors are such heretics in the eyes of the other side that they must at all costs be stopped. And if that means that you have to kill the messenger, in this case Joe Rogan, it must be done. It doesn't matter, because these and I'm talking about major doctors have been going after these doctors for a very long time because of the things that they've been saying with regards to COVID-19.
That's a good point. Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to say really quickly that it's because Robert Malone was right. And what's so funny about this, when I listened to that 3-hour long podcast, and everything he said in there about, I don't think the fourth shot is going to protect from Omicron because it's like getting 2 years old flu shot, or all this stuff that he said. ivermectin, that new Japanese study that just came out. I think honestly, Robert Malone is so he's so intelligent and well-spoken that he threatens Fauci and he threatens their power. And so they have to keep it.
Because he's got all the credentials. And I mean, Joe Rogan, since even before COVID, he was talking about, like way before COVID, he's been talking about health, the importance of health, how, a good diet and a balanced diet and a good exercise and stuff like that can cause you to have a better living standard for yourself. And he talked about vitamin D for the longest time and how it's good for you. And then 2 weeks ago, we get an article from the CTV or the CTV. I had CTV on the mind. This CDC and whatever saying, oh, vitamin D helps with COVID. Give me an effing break here. Joe Rogan has been saying this stuff for how long, and now slowly they're trickling out this same information that he's been getting from that other side, from the heretic doctors, and reporting it. And now it's all of a sudden this is brand new information, everybody.
Right. Yeah. I was just going to say real quick that one thing that you said, Nina, which is that why are they going so far? As soon as these guys start talking, to suppress any little amounts of it. Well, in my opinion, in my mind, when somebody makes a very, very large attempt to silence a specific person, like a widespread, attempt by the government or the authorities to silence a person, that's when you really got to start listening to what they're saying. You know what I mean? And
I always do.
why.
When people start getting silenced, I'm like, oh, okay, that's the person I got to listen to. You're right.
Yes.
Exactly. It draws. That's the funny part about this. They're like, oh, we got to censor him. We got to censor him. But the moment they announce the censorship, I'm on DuckDuckGo trying to find the podcast. Where'd it go?
Yeah, it's always it's totally fine. It's totally the Streisand effect. And it's funny because I heard that Barbara Streisand came out and said that she's taking off her stuff from Spotify too. And I had a good laugh because it's literally the Streisand effect that's happening right now. But then it came out that it hasn't been confirmed by quote unquote Twitter fact checkers, which are also the other side of this whole thing, right? It's every 5 seconds we're hearing about these fact checkers that are going and getting rid of the information that the other side brings. And it's always and the same thing with the experts, because you can pay anybody to find the facts that you want or the experts that you want to have, on your side or whatever. It's just such BS at this point.
Right. And that's why having open dialogue and hearing different viewpoints is extremely beneficial. One of the things I like about free speech is the ability to be wrong and listen to bad information, because sometimes that's how you find out what the better information is. And when they're trying to say, when they're creating a nanny state of information, I'm incredibly suspicious of it. This whole COVID situation has been a huge red pill for lots of people, including myself, when it comes to how people they get into they just automatically conform when they're under pressure, right? And COVID, when it first came out, was a moment of pressure that a lot of people went under. But it also became a moment where people of authority, expert class people, the government, all of a sudden took the reins in a very authoritarian way, not as a leadership way, but almost like a dictatorship. And the way we've been governed on big tech platforms has been of a very dictatorship method. And some of this emphasis actually started before COVID, because people like AOC was complaining that big tech platforms need to do more, right? And screaming about having more censorship, right? And so now everybody's comfortable within the government to say that big tech needs to do more censorship and stop misinformation. And who determines what's misinformation? What, Snopes? right? You know, it's whoever gets to determine what information we should hear has the most power. And
Well,
so, yeah,
you're totally right, Adam, because and I'll go back to the fact that I was born in Iran. So when I was born in Iran, I was born in 85, so it was right after the war, the Iran-Iraq war. And I grew up in a country that was completely it's under theocratic rule, and you have one supreme leader basically telling everyone what to do, and everything is government mandated. Everything, speech is government mandated. And if you can, for having wrong think, or for having wrong speak, you could go to jail. You can get whipped, or you can get worse. You could die in jail. People are waiting to die right now and in prison for having the wrong think and wrong speak. So when I moved to Canada, in '95, with my mom, we wanted she wanted a better life for me. She wanted to take me to a country that was free and had free dialogue, or free expression, and the freedom to pick your own religion, and everything about freedom, right, was something that we desired. And even when we lived in Canada, we always looked to America as the beacon of that, the most the most improved civilized manner of free speech and free dialogue, because even in Canada we didn't quite have the free speech thing the way you guys have it in your constitution. And when I've been blackpilled for a while, Adam. Like, this is not, this is my first rodeo, because I kind of been through the whole thing with 9/11. So I understand that free speech started getting a lot less and less and less as time went on, since the 2020s, or sorry, since 2001. And now it's culminated to this point, right? Because it's a step-by-step gradual process that pathocratic rulers, people who are completely sociopathic and psychopathic and are in places of power, want to silence you for a reason. They want you to have no voice so that they can control you. It's all about control. And this COVID thing, of course, woke a lot of people up. And it's a good thing. I'm glad people are waking up. But I mean, it's not just enough to wake up. You have a voice, use it right now before it's too late. You got to use it right now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Audra.
Well, and that was what I've noticed too. I'm not afraid to be called a bigot or a racist or a any ist or any ot or whatever. I'm not afraid to be called those things anymore, because I realize that those are weapons. That these words have been weaponized, to the point where they've almost kind of lost their meaning to them, which is sad in a way, because it'll have ramifications for a long period of time to come. But people have been called all kinds of things. Susan B. Anthony was called a cross-dresser, which back in her day in the 1800s, that was a pretty big deal. You didn't get called a cross-dresser very often. A man-eater, etc. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I would love to see more women and just anybody really not be afraid. I mean, it got to the point where I didn't even use my real face or my name on Twitter. I just thought I was so out there that I would lose my job, or that somebody would hate me. And then I realized, this is what big tech does. They want you to think you're all alone.
Yeah, they want you to feel alone. That's totally what they're doing. And you're totally right, because I am also one of those people who now wears the conspiracy theorist badge of honor. I have always been considered a conspiracy theorist, and now I know it as a badge of honor.
Yeah, I was going to say, about the racism and, how they're losing their meaning. I think really what it is they're trying to redefine those things as time goes by. So for example, like, I was labeled an anti-vaxxer, which to me, and I've said this before, that's so bizarre to me. Like, as a mother of a 4-year-old daughter who's fully vaccinated, and I got my vaccines as a kid, and I got my vaccines when I was pregnant, and and all I said was, like, I don't like the idea of mandates. I think people should be able to choose. It's a new vaccine, give people the choice. And now they're redefining words in the dictionary to include people who don't adopt that narrative. And so that they are, it's more than just it's losing its meaning. They're redefining it to mean what they want it to mean.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, you're totally right. And guess what? They just redefined, quote unquote, which I've been getting hit with, is the term honk honk, which is in my it's in my name, and people started like putting these pictures on my Twitter like, oh, you're a Hitler loving white supremacist because you're using the terms honk honk, because I say that in support of the truckers, and they're saying that that's a white supremacist word.
White supremacy is everywhere these days, man. We can't escape it.
I know
There's no
we're
escaping.
also I know we're also terrible. We're so evil.
As a
Adam, I don't know
Well,
how
I
you
think
deal
that's
with
their
us
way.
white supremacists, man. I just
Yeah,
don't.
for
I don't
real.
get
It
it.
seems like the way of scaring people from, basically owning it or wanting to put it on Twitter or use the phrase, because now you'll be categorized as that if you use it. So it's like they're weaponizing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they totally are, and because of that, I used it more. So good.
I've talked about this before, like when you deal with like psychology, if you've ever heard of like the hierarchy of needs, right? So it starts at the very bottom with I need shelter and food. And then once you've got all of those met, then you need successively more things to create your life. And because we live in a society where we have almost all of those things that we need, we don't have to usually worry. Most of us don't have to worry about food and shelter and predators to live. So now the next step is we want validation. We want peer validation. It's just an internal need that people have to have. So they know this, like the powers that be, they understand that social media peer pressure creates a need for people to conform for validation. And so you'll see that a lot of people will just eventually just immediately gravitate towards the popular opinion because they want to be on the right side, but they're not actually thinking for themselves because they're too afraid. Like you said, they're too afraid to come out and be labeled a certain way or be ostracized. And it really is just a way of using social media to pressure people via it's peer pressure. That's what it is. It's what your parents warned you about.
Yeah, exactly. What I was going to say is, because I had lost connection for a second, this is part of why I wrote that Joe Rogan article, because the usage of racist and racism, white supremacy, these are all attack words, right? But much like anything else, it can only hurt if you let it hurt you. I was speaking in front of a bunch of people the other day in Wisconsin, and I told them, don't be afraid. Let them call you white supremacists. They're going to say that we're at a KKK rally right now, and then that's fine, because we know that we're on the side of good. If you know you're a good moral person, it doesn't matter what somebody else says about you, especially someone who's foaming at the mouth and incoherent. Like, who cares what they think? And stop arguing with them. That's my other thing. But I want to actually bring it to what we can, some like silver linings. So silver lining is with the whole cancel culture situation where they're using Twitter, Facebook, and stuff like that to go after certain people. The silver lining is, and I hope I'm not jinxing anything, is that they haven't gone after internet service providers, right? So while the hosting services, the Amazon AWS situation with Parler is a little bit of a different situation, they haven't really gone after hosting services.
They were trying to in Canada. I don't know. They haven't succeeded yet, but in Canada, that was a big thing that they wanted to basically kind of like hit your internet provider so you get a maximum amount of bandwidth. And then if you're, you know, found guilty of quote unquote wrong thing, then, you know, your internet could be cut off or you could be limited. You know, there's all sorts of stuff going on in Canada with regards to that. Again, because Canada is not, we don't have a constitution that protects us the way you guys do. So it's a little bit different over there, what's going on.
I did want to. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that's when we get some Iranian servers and just fucking help it up again.
What I noticed. Oh, sorry. I need to stop apologizing. But what I noticed was that in Build Back Better, they had this weird policy where they were going to give internet to people, and I thought, oh no, that's not going to come for free here. He's trying to worm his way into like controlling the internet, because of course, if the government provides internet, then what is the government able to do? They're allowed to limit and not give money to certain groups. That's how the vax mandate for the healthcare workers managed to sneak its way in there, is because the government can control tax dollars. Another great example was speed limits. So not every state had speed limits. So what the federal government did is they just told them, okay, well, we're not going to give you any dollars for your roads. And so all the states had to comply with what the federal government wanted in order to get those tax dollars. So trust me, I think they were trying to do that. I really do. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but
you're probably not wrong.
Conspiracy theorist. How dare you?
Yeah.
We're probably all, you know what? It's not only a theory until it's proven true.
Yeah. What is it? It takes a year to realize that a conspiracy is actually true these days. Yeah. I mean, thankfully,
a year? That's way too long now. Like, how about 2 weeks? Like, literally, freaking. It's like 2 weeks ago, vitamin D was, you know, it was heresy to talk about vitamin D on social media. Now it's like, oh, everything is fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thankfully about the IASP service, they haven't really, at least as of yet, they haven't gone after that. So I guess as much as we're complaining about certain things, what are some of the solutions that we could do, like everyday people? One of the things that I'm trying to do when it comes to wrong speak is have a platform outside of big tech where people can express themselves. You know, obviously it's article related, but people have a place to, you know, say what they want to say, express themselves, and be heard. I think people need to diversify how they utilize big tech platforms. So for example, I kind of see it like this. I know we're on Twitter's grounds, and this is their rules. And as much as I might not like certain things, but it makes more sense for me to play by the rules so I stay on longer, so I have a bigger effect, right? Because if I get banned, I can't hold conversations like this, which for the time being are pretty uncensored, at least on Twitter Spaces. So
they're working on
it. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope it's not that good. So, you know, I'm going to play by the rules. However, when I want to express myself, I'm going to write an article, or I'm going to go to a more free speech oriented, maybe forum. If anybody's ever heard of slug.com, it's a free speech oriented website. You can go on there and say whatever you want to say. There's different voices, different opinions. So I know that I can't say certain things on Facebook, but I can say these certain things on Twitter. But I could definitely say these things on my own website or go on Slug, you know, that kind of thing. So unfortunately, we can't have a one-stop shop of free expression. Like, that's what it is right now. So for the meantime, I think if we play it smart and not try to, you know, pound our heads on the cement wall and hoping that the wall will move, we have to maneuver it. We have to go around it. So that's just my suggestion as far as some solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bullet.
I was gonna say, I agree with what you're saying about, you know, these new platforms, and that also reduces, it helps diversify so that we don't just end up with like Twitter and Facebook monopolizing everything, or Google and Amazon monopolizing everything, which is a big danger. I think that the more of these free speech platforms out there, the better. And I would also say, like, a silver lining, or what you're saying, like a solution we kind of touched on before, the advocacy, right? Raising people's awareness about these issues, and safety online and things of that nature. Just trying to advocate, and like everybody was kind of saying, like, stop being scared and just continue to speak out, because a lot of this stuff seems to be self-correcting, doesn't it? Because like you said, it only takes a few weeks or a year nowadays for a conspiracy to become true. And now people start getting red pilled, like you said. So I do think that optimistically, a lot more people are starting to understand it than they did this time last year.
I'm gonna say that I definitely agree with you with regards to like going to all platforms is a great thing. Like I'm gonna start probably going on Rumble soon. I think Odyssey's based. I already have a lot. Yeah, man, Odyssey's great. I'm gonna start doing the Odyssey thing soon too. But like I already have
Truth Social, baby. Truth Social.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Next month, supposedly.
My YouTube is already like kind of like mirrored onto Odyssey, but I gotta start doing like the live streaming on there as well, and like Rumble and like everything like that. It's just the only thing is that it's time consuming, right? Like I have to like sit there and like make all the accounts and everything. But beyond that, I think what's really important is also to honestly like forget about social media. I know that sounds really weird, but like focus on your own, like I think that people should focus like in their own community and in their own kind of like immediate attention onto their own community first. Like try and make changes within your own vicinity of what you can do on the ground of where you're at. Personally speaking, like I mean, I live in Mexico. I know that sounds really weird. I live in Cancun. So I like try to like, help out in whatever way I can in this community here to make life better for like the people that are around me, because we all know like life isn't online. Like Twitter is not life, and the moment you step away from online, you realize like the moment that you step away from Twitter and stuff like that, you realize how like nothing crazy is actually going on in the world, and it's not all doom and gloom. And that's one of the reasons I'm also like trying to do my Infinite Hope show, because I want to balance out that energy of like we're always just constantly bombarded with just shit news all the time, and it's not good for your psyche. So my suggestion is actually kind of like get off social media, live your life, go out to nature, read a book. It's good for the soul.
I completely agree. So we're reaching the part of the show where we'll take some people who want to speak. You can request to speak. Before I do that, I want to say, so we can get to as many people as possible. Try to make your points clear, concise, not too long, and then we'll respond to it. Also, if anybody wants to listen to this episode or any previous episodes, you can go to agoodfaithspace.com. That'll bring you to the YouTube channel so you can listen on a replay. And we have different topics, so it's not always about big tech. It's about a whole bunch of different things. So I am going to reluctantly, based off of their name, take on the mark of the beast.
That's my main squeeze. That's Mateo. He's a good friend of mine. Really quick, I wanted to mention one thing that didn't get mentioned before was Roblox. And Roblox has become like a grooming. Someone was DMing me about Roblox, and just be careful if you have kids and they're on Roblox. It's another platform that's being used to kind of groom kids and get their private information and stuff like that. So
oh my God, I had no idea about this. What, Roblox? Like ROW?
ROBLOX, and it's a gaming site platform mainly for kids, but yeah, it's being heavily used for pedophilia, unfortunately. So yeah, that's another way that they're reaching children.
Yeah, it's Roblox, it's Minecraft, it's Fortnite, it's all of those. But yeah, Roblox is kind of a new one in the space, so it doesn't surprise me that they're, they gravitate towards the ones that are newer and have less recognition.
All right, Mark of the Beast, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, how's it going, Adam? How are you doing? What's up, Tara? Mark of the Beast here. How's everyone doing today?
Doing
Hi,
well.
Mateo.
Great.
Good.
Hey,
What up,
doing good.
Tara? What's up? So I just wanted to touch base on this big tech censorship, right? And with it's a problem. Like, I'm not kidding. The media is the virus, and I'll say it again. Vanguard Group, BlackRock and the Vanguard Group, the two largest asset management firms in the world, combined own the New York Times and also legacy media, along with Big Pharma. I mean, Big Pharma funds the media funds your fears fund your disease funds pharma. And with that, I mean, look, I always say, hey, look, actions speak louder than words, right? And the actions that are speaking over at CNN are absolutely hilarious because you know what's happening over at CNN? I mean, the fall of CNN, fake news. CNN has not only been favoring Democrats, but also outright colluding with them on as one big happy family. I mean, it's just like the CNN scandal that continues to expose like the corruption and evil. Like, I mean, goodbye. Like I said, bye, Felicia, to Jeffrey, Zucker, because for us as individuals, as collective individuals, it's our due diligence. We have to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable. I mean, look what Matt Lee did when he said, what supporting evidence do you have to support this claim? If we're not asking questions, I mean, are we holding ourselves accountable? Because, I mean, this is what the media does. They use propaganda to distract the public. I mean, Technique 88. And so with this censorship, it's a big problem. Like, it's an absolute big problem. But you know what? We're making a difference because we have each other. We're here to, open spaces where we can, have open dialogue, and we have the right message, right approach, and we're looking for common ground. I mean, regardless of the left or right, we've got to find some type of common ground here because we all have children. I got 3 kids. I'm sick of this shit. I am absolutely to the point where I can't do this anymore. And I'm standing up and I'm using my voice, my platform, whatever I can to make a difference. And so what I noticed, and I'll finish with this, I'm always doing my due diligence and going down every rabbit hole. And so a rabbit hole I went down yesterday was the NSO group is spying on you. And what is Pegasus? Spyware, and how does it hack phones? I mean, I'm always staying vigilant. And Pegasus is a spyware developed by the Israel cyber, arms company, NSO group. They can be convertedly installed on mobile phones and other devices running most, versions on iOS and Android. I mean, Pegasus is reportedly able to exploit all iOS versions up to 14.6 through a zero-click iMessage exploit. So for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm always making sure I use private VPNs. I'm making sure I do my due diligence, like all the time. And I mean, research everything. Research and question everything for not just the sake of our children, but for the sake of society, for the sake of our generation, for us to actually move forward instead of being drugged down. And that's all I got to say.
Woo, you're on fire, man. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I appreciate you adding your 2 cents to the conversation. We'll go to Alex. Alex just published an article with Wrong Speak today. So, Alex, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. My name is Alex. I just wanted to drop a big old white pill for everybody here because I know like this kind of talk can really, seem pessimistic and things seem really dark. But that's the way that they want it to be because the way I see it is that a lot of people refer to the media and like politicians and stuff as like a cabal or a like an overstate or a cathedral or a Legion of Doom or whatever. But like the truth is, the internet doesn't just make them powerful; it makes us very powerful as well. Because people can take videos with cell phones. We can go on spaces like this. We can do a lot of things. And every time you do something like that, I believe that house of cards, I kind of see more as like a Jenga tower. You knock a block from the Jenga tower, and just because it's still standing, it doesn't mean it's as strong as it used to be. And kind of like Nina was saying, if you focus like on a microcosm level and focus on what you can do in your locale, eventually you get enough groundswell to where a grassroots movement can really happen, and you get good people in office who share our liberal values, and maybe that last foundational block can be knocked from the tower. And I see that as something maybe like Section 230, for instance, because free speech we often equate to standing on a soapbox. So you got to think like, what's the digital equivalent of that? And if we could change that to more mirror that, maybe that could be it. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say there. Think small, think community like, and I think eventually we're gonna get there.
I love what you said. It's amazing, but I'll just tell you one thing. You said white pill, and that sounds totally white supremacist.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm a
Busted. Just kidding.
I'm just joking. That was great. That was great. I love everything you said, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Actually, he just mentioned Section 230. Bullet, you wanted to talk about Section 230 earlier?
I mean, I think I kind of touched on it. It goes down to, it's a really complex. So if you don't know what 230 is, it's a law that basically the government gives a blanket liability protection to big tech companies to prevent them from being sued all the time. So somebody pisses you off, you piss somebody off online, they come to your house and shoot you, they could be liable for that, or they could be liable for like organized hate groups and stuff that happens on their platform. So 230 is a way for them to not have to worry about constant lawsuits. If 230 went away, which Biden unfortunately said, who knows if he even knows what he's talking about, but he was talking about getting rid of 230.
He
And what
doesn't.
happens if you get rid of 230 is that only the most Facebook and the biggest platforms would be able to afford the legal protection they would need to counteract all of the new lawsuits they were going to be facing, right? So what would end up happening is that big tech would end up having to censor people very heavily because they would have to moderate more. They'd have to make sure that nobody, said anything to piss anyone off because they're trying to limit their risk. But on the other hand, right now, what we're seeing is that 230 also allows them to censor people because, they have free reign and you can't sue them for it. You can't sue them and say, hey, you took away my platform for no reason and, bankrupted my family or, suppressed all of this information. So that's really at the crux of the problem. Both Democrats and Republicans right now want to reform 230, but they want to do it for different reasons. The reason I want to keep reforming it has nothing to do with either of those. It has to do with more protection for children online and more liability, like taking away liability protection from platforms when child safety is involved. In other words, if somebody is using the platform to prey on children, there needs to be an exception to 230 liability, because when you start putting in exceptions to 230, they start cracking down on that kind of stuff, right? Because they want to limit their risk. So that's what 230 is, and that's the danger of getting rid of 230. But I think that everybody agrees it needs reform because it's a dinosaur. But it's also a very complex issue, maybe a topic for another whole space.
Possibly so. Thank you for explaining that, though, for people who didn't fully understand. I'm going to add the next speaker. Zinc Craddock.
Yes,
Hey, how you
I'm
doing?
good. Okay. I just popped in on this and saw Big Tech or the whole talking about this. My, I had a theory back when Trump got banned, and it was basically that if you grab any of the big tech companies, if the first one was to just like get rid of censorship altogether, because again, it's about money for them, and it's just like I don't know why they don't do it. sorry about this. I don't know why they don't do it, but if one of them was to implement a parlor aspect, they would blow up in ways that they could not imagine. But since they're so set in their ways, and I applaud them for having some integrity and honor on that aspect, even though it's wrong. You got things like Rumble and other platforms that are now coming up and now proving a point that the people want free speech. And eventually we're probably going to see it maybe in the near future. Twitter, all of this, they'll have no choice but to shut down.
Also, so anybody want to add on to what you said?
Oh, I wanted to say that I think most people want freedom of speech. You know, I remember the first time I was in high school and I joined a diversity club in high school. Now, to tell you how old I am, I'm 30 years old. And I talked about in the diversity club, well, what about white supremacists' rights to speak? You know, how do we support that? And she said, listen, if we don't support their right to speak, then pretty soon we won't have a right either. And that used to be, in my opinion, that used to be the standard, right? An American value.
Yeah, I mean, I call myself a damn near free speech absolutist, and even for things that we would traditionally call hate speech. And the reason being is because if they can find a reason to censor them, they can find a reason to censor me. So let the crazy people yell at each other in the woods, and fucking bumfuck wherever in the United States, and I'll keep my speech. And that's kind of it's as selfish as it could get when it comes to that. As
Oh
long
my
as
God, I don't think I've ever heard you swear before.
Well, I agree with that 100%. That's why, you know, like you said, if they take it away from one person, they have the ability to take it away from everybody.
Now you make me want to curse a lot so you can hear it all the time and get desensitized.
You just seem like such a wholesome person. So whenever I swear around you, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta watch what I say.
Oh my God. I'm gonna mess up that wholesome. We're gonna go to the next fucking caller. Crypto.
So offended.
Crypto, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Hello.
How's it going?
Doing well.
So I've been listening in, and I completely agree 100%. And just watching everything roll out last year or the year before now, sorry, was quite irritating, honestly. Just sitting there and watching it all roll out, and even getting some of my posts deleted, stuff like that. Like, I just think it turned everybody off of those platforms, but because they're the only platforms available, people will tend to go back to them even if it means it goes against what they believe in.
Possibly so. Anybody want to add into what he was saying?
Well, I think right now, like for me, as much as I hate Twitter and I think it's a fucking cesspool, I actually I hate this place. It's kind of like a means to an end. I know I hate saying that, but it is because my job right now is on YouTube, so I announce where I'll be on Twitter and stuff like that, and I use it for my work. And also, it is a platform for me to speak. As much as I hate this place, this is where everybody's at. Yeah, we love Rumble and we love Minds and all those places, but unfortunately, this is the place where everyone's gathering for some reason. So they're gonna have to drag me out of this place if they want me to leave, because I'm just gonna keep speaking my mind, and I don't really care. I've learned to play the game, and I'm still really shocked that to this day I haven't been banned. But you know what? Tomorrow's another day. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Every day is a new day to get banned.
Yeah, but like you said, so like the people that are using these platforms, and this one has been better recently that I've noticed, but during, like, let's say for instance the election, all the platforms came together and they overrode the underdogs. That's what I think's wrong, because like Parler, for instance, got shut down not long after it came out.
Oh no. Yeah, you're totally right.
But then sorry, I'm cutting in and out, so I don't mean to interrupt if I am. But so like when you think about it on a bigger scale, like let's say big pharma, for instance, they override a lot of other people. So then what makes you think that big tech won't override everybody else? Because they have the power, quote unquote, to do so.
Oh, 100% they will. And that's the problem. See, I think social media has now become the public square. And so I think our First Amendment laws, well, first of all, the constant pressure from the government on tech companies to censor certain people is a total and direct violation of our First Amendment rights. I mean, it says right in the Constitution that the government cannot control what people say. And it's just crazy. So, can anybody hear me? I had a serious technical issue.
Yeah. So mine was glitching like crazy just a minute ago.
I had one of those earlier too. I think it must be normal.
It's probably because of what we're talking about, truthfully.
Yep. There's also, yeah, I've noticed with these calls, and maybe it's just tinfoil hatish, but when you say certain words, at least when I used to run these regularly, the call would just get completely ended. So it was, and then people were actually testing it out where they would start a space call like this and then say the like trigger words, and it would happen every single time. So I don't know, pretty weird.
It's hard not to be a conspiracy theorist on this stuff, but
I think it would be really amazing also if people in here, if they're liking what they're hearing, if they can tweet out the call so, you know, people see it in case it's being suppressed or hidden. I'm sure a few of us, not just myself, are shadow banned. So a lot of things are not seen unless they're tweeted out directly by us in the feed. Adam, did you get rugged?
Uh-oh.
I don't know if Adam he might have been rugged as we're literally discussing it. That's wild.
He just messaged me. He told me he's stuck. I don't know what that means.
That happened to me earlier. I had to force close the app and come back and then rejoin.
Force close the app and then
won't that end the space?
No, it doesn't end the space anymore. It used to, but it actually allows the host to reconnect now. So that's a good thing. I know there's a lot of bugs with Twitter Spaces, so he should be able to rejoin if he does it within a certain amount of time.
He says he's going to go restart his phone. So that's
if he's quick enough, it'll keep the space going. Otherwise, it may end, and he may have to start a new one.
Oh, it's nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you too.
No, so on top of all that, I was just wanting to add, like, you said certain words would close spaces, but like if you search certain things on Google, my phone's actually shut off and the battery went dead like instantly. And then I charge it and it turns back on and it's fine. It's weird.
Do you have a Google phone? I have an
iOS, Apple.
Weird.
Yeah, but I searched on Google Chrome or whatever, Safari, but within Google. It's weird.
That is so strange. What are you Googling, you bad boy? Just
Uh-oh,
playing.
It's called
Nina.
graphene oxide.
Oh,
That's
God.
what I searched and it closed. But
I
it's
think
in our
Nina got kicked.
vaccine. It's crazy.
I think Nina got kicked out as well, and I don't think I have the ability to make her a speaker again. Does anybody have the ability to do that?
No,
I
if
don't.
Adam's able to get back in here, he'll be able to. Otherwise, he may have to. Oh, Adam, are you back?
Oh my God. It's always something.
Nina got too.
Okay. Sorry about all that. Because I could hear you guys speaking, but I couldn't unmute myself. So I had to restart my phone just to get it going again. I'm sorry about that. I feel bad for all the people who were waiting to speak. We'll go to.
I can stay as co-host or one of the others up here if you want. That way, if that happens again, we can keep rotating speakers.
Okay, I just added you as co-host just in case.
Maybe you can make Nina a speaker again.
Yeah.
Poor Nina.
Poor everybody. Jeez. All right, Brandon, I'm gonna add you a speaker.
It was just a short commercial break, guys. What I've realized is if I try to do anything else on my phone while hosting a space, it usually tends to crash. So it's like one or the other. You can't even really check DMs or anything while hosting. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Brandon, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I usually go by like Daddy Ferris on like Twitch and some other social media, but it's more wholesome because I'm a dad, not because of anything inappropriate. I don't have like only dads or anything like that, but yeah.
Yes.
I got kicked out right as I was talking about the most. Yeah. So that was interesting timing.
I reported this whole room. It's my fault. I'm just kidding. I do know.
Wow, Randy. I'm reporting your only dads.
No.
I'm just playing.
Yeah, there's a couple things because like BX, I know because of like Twitch and stuff like that, and kind of like would be interesting. It's like they can roll out these things to basically DCMA strike people, but then it's like once they get these reports of like child predator type stuff, it's like it seems like that seems to fall through the cracks or isn't like flagged for anything like very serious, which I think is very disheartening. But I wanted to kind of piss on that, but I also saying like with it's also interesting too because they can roll out these algorithms to like slap a COVID-19 warning on stuff, but like the moment that anything like child safety is brought up, it seems like there's no like answer in sight for that, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And I just want to kind of get a pulse for if you guys think this, because I've been noticing we seem to have like a short-term memory with stuff, like with people, and it's like a 30-day window with everything, and it seems to be like a cycle. And I feel like the villain for last year and the last couple of years have been Trump, and there's no villain to be mad at, and that's why like Joe Rogan is kind of like fallen on the spear for that for people. And it's like this whole holy crusade to like try and now deplatform him and all this stuff. But it's just so ridiculous to me because like I truly think people don't realize like what happened the previous 30 days or can't say what they were mad about within the last 30 days. Sometimes it's a 2-week cycle of stuff. Do you guys kind of feel like that's kind of like what's going on? Because like, and there's a very big lack of history.
I agree with you because I think that's kind of like the nature of the beast right now with regards to like the short attention spans and everything. And that's kind of like how it's kind of how it's always been, you know, like the famous saying goes, you get your 15 minutes of fame and then it's over. So like right now, everybody's getting a 15-minute of fame, like every 5 minutes, like on social media. So it's not like, you know, it's not as stretched of a time as it used to feel like. But you're totally right. And I'm more of an also like the the culture war sphere. So like for me, it has to do with more like what's going on with, entertainment and, all the stuff that's going on with like woke media and, intersectional feminism and all that kind of stuff. So we see that kind of stuff happen all the time in our sphere as well, with regards to like, this mentality of, you get these weird tweets or whatever from like Disney or big corporations that say certain things. And then it's like, you talk about it for like 5 minutes and then it's just like the next day it's something else. So it's a constant movement. And it's all, I think it's part of the design as well. And especially with regards to COVID, it's been part of the design because they want you to be completely like on your toes all the time. Like, this is going to change. Now this is going to change. Now this is going to change. And you're going to have to keep up with it. If you don't, you might be misinformed or you might be like this and that and that. It's just, I think it's just by design. But I also think you're totally correct, because we've also like fallen into the a place of complacency or whatever you want to call it, because I think that a lot of the like people in America especially, and people in Canada and like North America in general. I hate using the term privilege, but we really are kind of like privileged in a sense, because everywhere else in the world, there's not a like they don't have access to what we have. So it's almost as if we're fishing to be mad at something all the time. So I kind of see what you were saying as well.
Yeah,
sorry.
Sorry. I wanted to add to what Brandon is saying is like, you mentioned that you see the predators falling through the crack, and I know you're talking about my specific situation. But I'm putting together this YouTube video right now, and the more I kind of like dig my nails into this, and again, I mean, everything's just a conspiracy theory until it's proven to be true, right? So for now, I guess I'm just kind of starting to go down this rabbit hole of like, are they falling through the cracks? Or is there something else going on? Because it really seems to me like this is much, much bigger than just falling through the cracks. Oopsies, nobody saw your report. Sorry, we're understaffed. Because I know that Brandon has been involved in my situation as well and knows how many thousands of people have contacted Twitch about this, right? So it just seems a little bit too strange, too much to just be a simple oversight, So yeah, man, sorry, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but I just feel like there's something more there. I really do.
Oh, 100%. I
think so too.
So weird.
Viking, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Very nice conversation. Great stuff by the host as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me up. I think it's a great conversations that you guys and girls are having, and I think it's definitely something that we all need to work on. At a grassroots level. I'm a dad as well, and I think that I would consider myself a few years ago to have been pretty much of let's call it a Democrat or a liberal or a leftist, I would say. But essentially, as with kids, I guess your antennas kind of go up a little bit more. And also, if you have some friends, you kind of see things creeping, right? And what I would say is that I don't think it has anything to do with conspiracy. I think with what happened in the last, few years, I would say, it's evident, right? There's no conspiracy to be had. Like Facebook, the data, the reports came out. That's it. It came out that they were suppressing views. They were channeling certain things. They had all these algorithms on what they would promote and whatnot, right? So there's no conspiracy there. Same thing with Twitter. Same thing with Google, for example, searches. There's multiple reports that came out. Google actually admitted what they were doing as well. People were suspicious of it all the way in 2016 when Hillary was running. At the time, I would say back then it was a little bit of a, underground thing and it was a conspiracy. But I think all the data came out. And, you don't need to go crazy. You don't need to go wild. You just really need to look at the facts and the data that came out. And what I find that we need to do, everybody as a community, with friends, with parents, and everybody else, is just to say, even somebody that has a view that we disagree with, whether they're on the left or whether they're on the right, as long as they're not advocating for violence, right, physical violence, is I think everybody has a right to be heard. Everybody has a right to express their ideas and their thoughts. And I believe that's what makes America, and I would say the West, or a lot of modernized countries actually, not just America, pretty great, right? That's the evolution that came about our world, that made so many discoveries, so many things about science, so many things about education, so many things about ideas or social justice possible, right? If people didn't have the right to free speech, if you knew that you were going to be suppressed or that you were going to be hit or whatnot, look, we would have never had Malcolm X. We would have never had Martin Luther King. We would never had Rosa Parks, for example, right? If the equivalent was going to be that we're today, what you have is, you might not be shot, not yet. You might not be purged physically, not yet, but nevertheless, what you have today is that you have essentially this digital, little campaigns of first it starts with aggression, then it goes to isolation, and then it goes to slander, and then after that it goes to kind of elimination, where they shut you down, and eventually they kind of kill you on the social network. So I think it's important for all of us to kind of stand and even educate our kids about this, that proper free speech is important. It's good to talk to your members of Congress, your representatives, to say, we have to put an end to this automatic tar and feather that they do to people the moment that they have a slight opinion. And today it's gotten to the point where you can't even question anymore. It's not about you making statements or saying things that you have a question. You're like, I'm not sure about this, right? And it's like a pressure salesman at your door. You got to take it. You got to take it. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. And you're like, can I think about it? Can I look into it? No, no, no. What are you, a conspiracy? So I think that's important. I think it's really good that you guys are having this conversation. I think we should definitely spread it. We should stay cordial, respectful, and good about it. But I think it's definitely good that we speak about it, because if we don't speak about it, our children are going to end up, whether you have children or not yet, or for those that already have children that are grown, nobody wants their kids or to be kids or to be old and to see that we didn't put up a fight, and then essentially our kids are just little serfs that are subjugated. And on a closing, I'll say this, right? I saw a documentary the other day about Berlin and World War II, right? And one thing that shocked me is that I'm sure it'll be pretty easy to find, or if anything, I'll find the link and I'll post it on my feed. One thing that was shocking was to see how I won't even say his name, but that awfully evil man managed to encapsulate a bunch of people and turn them into what looked like they were the worst people on the planet, doing very terrible things. And yet they were not allowed to speak. They were not allowed to voice their opposition. And then through that, he was able to rise an entire population, cause massive amount of deaths through that, and make them do horrible things to another set of people that they tarred and fettered and that they identified as the enemy, right? And even those within their side that disagreed with them were not allowed to disagree publicly. So everybody forgets about that part of history. And that was awful. And what was impressive is once the West took over Germany, is what was very impressive is you should have seen the involvement right away that Germans had to essentially participate in free elections. They would put placards and they go protest. And this is not even like 15 months after the war was over. And they wanted to get back into involvement at a community level, at a city level, at a state level. They wanted to be re-involved, and they actually were fighting for their free speech. They were actually, arguing with the German zone, the French zone, and the British zone, essentially for their rights to be respected. So it just goes to show you that it's human nature that we want to express ourselves, that we want to have that ability to speak freely. And that if we do let it fall into the state where we're to always terrorized, then we're going to be under a state of constant stress, subjugation. And when it's going to be too late, it's going to be too late. And we're going to say we should have, we could have, and we would have. So on that, I'll close. Thank you for giving me the time to speak. And great spaces. I really love it. Great conversations and great people.
Thank you, Viking. We're going to try and get to the last few people here We don't want it to run too late. I want to respect everybody's time. The Phoenix Force. I'm going to add you as a speaker. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's nice to see you guys. I have a few points I want to make, then I'll make it really short, make it really concise. First off,
Sure.
somebody brought up Roblox earlier. I want to. First thing is I want to say is, with Roblox, you also want to watch your wallets. The idea of Roblox is basically to make as much money as possible, and it's basically a way to scam children. So if you have a child who's playing Roblox, don't be shocked if you aren't paying attention and suddenly you have $500 set up to Roblox. All right? That's one thing that you want to look at. Watch your credit cards, keep them away. That's a scam completely. That's point one. Second point is this. Everybody talked about Roblox being a child predator site. I have a few others for you to look at to make sure your children are safe. One, WhatsApp. That is essentially a site used as a predatory site. Scout, Skout. 3 is Kick. 4 is obviously Snapchat. And 5 is Grindr. Regardless of preference of what you like physically, that is, first off, a kid shouldn't be on that site. But whenever you see people getting caught, like to catch a predator, it's always Grindr. That's what you want to look at. So parents out there, look for those on your children's phones. And my last point is this. Twitch and other sites are essentially giving themselves enough rope to hang themselves. I told BX this about her case, that if this man has enough rope, he's going to hang himself. And what happened the next day? He got too close to the sun, and his face was plastered everywhere. There's already been a Minecraft purge. There's been a Super Smash Brothers purge. And there's also already been an offline TV purge and FaZe purge with sexual allegations. Whenever this happens to Twitch, it's going to be a cataclysm of events. Plus, the amount of lawsuits that are going to happen from this, due to the fact that most people have reported this, people have been blackmailed, tortious interference has happened, and extortion has happened. It's not going to be good. So all we have to do is have the right spark happen. So I think all we have to do is just get as much as we can publicly so that they can't hide it anymore. Because while we're being silenced by Twitch itself, if we go to other sources, bigger sources that can look down on them and say what's going on, that's when the landfall is going to hit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you adding to the conversation here. We're going to go to Mexican Pyramid Scheme. You guys have some interesting names. Mexican Pyramid Scheme. You can unmute yourself.
That is certainly a hard act to follow. And I will say, I don't have that energy, but I have that disgust. Don't let yourself be taken by false gods that put cucumbers in their asses. Don't let yourself fall to victim
I swear that was not me. He got disconnected.
Yeah, it seems like you got disconnected.
All I heard was cucumbers in their asses.
Yeah, I heard. I was like,
I heard that too. Oh, I wanted to say really quick, just for the record, my kid is they're gonna have a cell phone. Not a cell phone. It's gonna be that phone, that used to be in the kitchen when I was growing up. And there's gonna be one computer in the house in the middle of the family room. And that will solve a lot of these problems.
Really help? Give them dial-up. That would really slow them down. They'll be so disinterested in the internet.
Yeah, give them dial up. That's great.
Oh man, you want to watch this movie? You have to wait 1 week. I guess he's not coming back. Maybe the Mexican pyramid scheme is tricking you to put a cucumber in your ass. I don't know.
Oh no.
That went such like a weird turn, and then he got cut off at the right moment. Oh, he's back.
Oh, he is?
All right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Mexican pyramid scheme. You had us at cucumber in the ass. You may continue.
Good evening. I am here. I'm here to say Terrible is only going to any space that she could take advantage of people.
This is exactly what I knew. I was going to give him a chance to talk because, like you guys always say, if you give someone enough rope, they'll do what with them? So there's been an ongoing thing that has happened here since I've gained a platform that it's, I guess you could call it bullying or harassment and rumors. People have tried to spread about me personally. I can say right here, right now, they're not true. I embrace it because I find it hilarious. And I feel like you have to kind of embrace the trolling. So if you want Adam, he can have at it. It's your space. But that is, he's coming at me. So I'm just letting you know he's here to troll me. And I'm happy to take it. It's all fun and games.
No, that's not what we do here. See, this is called a good faith space.
What? That's lame. Yeah. No, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Beat her up. Beat her up. I'm just kidding.
Fight.
Yay! I love getting beat up on the internet. It's so fun. Honestly, though, it's part of, I guess, I've never had a social media platform prior to this one, other than a little bit of gaming and streaming on YouTube and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun. And, but obviously trolls come along here and there. But as far as this platform goes, there have been all sorts of attempts to try to get me out of here, to get me to leave, to embarrass me, to do anything they can to try to get me to go. But unfortunately, I'm not going anywhere. You're going to have to do a lot better than that.
I'm sorry, but you have like 74,000 followers. So this is new to you?
I have 3,000 and I've got like 20 of those guys.
I got 250.
Oh my God. You have like 30,000? Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, I started in March. I actually had another account that was shut down prior to this one that only had around 2,000 followers. It was ghost banned because I started shedding light on things that Wall Street didn't really want light shed on. They were referring to me and others as conspiracy theorists. Well, now those things are talked about regularly in mainstream media. So I've been allowed to discuss them using this account so far, but I am unfortunately shadow banned currently. Another thing that some of the people who troll me do is mass report me. I actually had my account locked out for 12 hours recently and then was removed from algos and shadow banned after saying hoes will be hoes in reference to brokerage apps that hoe themselves out as being free and fair when they're indeed not. And they use certain methods to steal people's money essentially. So yeah.
Oh, that's definitely a Twitter thing. Like my friends get banned for saying cunts all the time. And usually it's my male friends. Like my male friends will get banned for saying cunts. Whereas when my female friends say cunts, like they're totally fine. But Tara, it's really nice to meet you. So I'm really glad to know all of you. Thank you, Adam, for introducing me to all these lovely ladies. And I'm going to follow all of you guys and we so we can stay in touch and have these conversations more like on our own platforms and stuff like that too. Like, cause I do a show, which actually is going to start very soon. So I'm going to have to bounce soon. But I do these shows every Wednesday where I talk about like basically what's going on in clown world. It's called Breaking the Narrative. And I would love to have some of you ladies on and talk about this kind of stuff. So
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
I would love that too.
So follow me back so that I can DM all of you, and then
I'm following all of you ladies, all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, Adam, again, thank you for setting this up. So, and with that, you know what? I'm going to have to bounce now. So I'm just going to say thank you, Adam. It was a really lovely evening, a really great conversation. And we need to have more of these, just more and more and more of these conversations is what we need. And again, really nice to meet you guys. Check me out on my YouTube channel, Nina Infinity, where I'll be going live right now to talk about crazy clown world stuff at 10 Eastern with Brittany Venti. Take care, you guys. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
I'm gonna have to follow suit with Nina because I also have an engagement at 8:30. But yeah, this was amazing. I thought that the conversation flow is really good and really productive. I'm very, very grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you guys and to meet all of you lovely ladies who I followed all of y'all. So yeah, like I said, I just quit Twitch out of I'm just boycotting the asses because, you know, F them. But I am on YouTube. I'll be live streaming there in the meantime, so you can subscribe to me on YouTube. Also, please go check out my video when you get a chance. Trying to bring exposure to a big predator situation on Twitch. Should have a brand new video for you guys tomorrow. It looks like I'm going to be staying up all night working on that. So if you can follow me there, also Twitter, Instagram, and all the other stuff, just BX Bullet TV everywhere I go. So thank you so much, Adam. Thank you for having me. Adam, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I thought
Yes.
you got disconnected again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right. We'll take one last person here. JR, I'm going to add you real quick. JR, you can unmute yourself.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good night. I've been kind of getting chucked off of here every now and then, so I've missed some of the conversation. But I know we were talking about, and I heard some people talking about censorship and, you know, just a lot of the stuff going on with bullying and, you know, kid stuff, pedophile stuff, trafficking stuff. And my expertise and my training is in crisis and therapeutic intervention, nonviolent crisis intervention, usually in residential settings, but lately I've been doing some independent contract work and doing things with trying to help out to certain families or kids that I know. And I heard somebody talk about, excuse me, you know, the use of the internet for kids and, you know, for people who've been convicted of, you know, sex crimes and things like that, having limited access. And, you know, I think that, you know, one of the things that from my experience that I've been able to see is that those people who, you know, do have that stuff on their record, you know, they are being monitored. They have limited access to where they can, you know, be. And I know that things can always get better. But you know, the biggest thing is making sure that parents are being held accountable and that the parents have the proper training, and that really they just talk to their kids. If you know, if they talk to their kids, you know, if they know what they're around and who their friends are, and you know, the parents of the friends, and it's hard. Everyone's working, you know, caught up in their own lives and things like that. But you know, people have to be responsible for their own children. And the biggest thing that we see is I'm up in Michigan. And we recently had the school shooting with the young man, and we see his parents are getting in trouble as well. And you know, some are arguing that the school administrators and people should be held accountable as well. And you know, you know, the term is out there. It takes a village to raise a child, right? And I think everyone's probably heard that, and it's true. You know, you know, the children are, and again, not everybody is fortunate enough to come from, you know, an affluent household or having both parents in the home. I was raised by my grandmother because both of my parents were incarcerated on drugs. So I come from a very broken family and a childhood that was full of trauma. And I myself was placed inside of a residential group home, had to face foster care and, you know, and all that stuff, and have my own set of traumas that I had to deal with and I had to overcome. You know, and that's again one of the main reasons why I do what I do now. I have 3 young, small biological children myself. My wife and I, used to run a group home for at-risk adolescent teenage girls. And we had a lot of girls come through our home who were trafficked, who were sexually abused, who were physically abused, who had, some of the worst, come from some of the worst experiences that I could, describe. And I do write about it in an upcoming memoir that I have. And I'm doing this now, and been getting involved more in a lot of these online engagements. Basically to share my story and to share some of the things that I've experienced, because I see now with what's going on, not only just in this country but worldwide. With this globalization and this just interconnectedness that we all have, is that we all have similar experiences. And we have more things that unite us than divide us, and a lot of it has to do with trauma and lived experience. And the one thing that I see that's lacking is the healing and the being able to overcome a lot of this stuff. And everybody has their own way of doing things, and there's a billion experts out there with all these different type of self-help tricks, and all these gurus who tell life coaches and things like that. Everybody's different. There's no one size fits all way to heal from trauma. And the biggest thing is anybody who's gone through any type of drug or alcohol addiction, or any type of addiction, gambling, sex addiction, whatever. The first any problem whatsoever that we go through, doesn't even have to be an addiction, but any problem. If you want to fix that problem, is what you have to identify that the problem, and acknowledge it, and accept that the problem is there. And we have so many people, so many parents, so many institutions that don't want to admit and acknowledge that there's a problem, and that's why these things continue to go on, and it can go on, and it continue to fester. And so the best infectant is always going to be sunlight, right? And so I just think that these types of conversations, and again, I've heard it before about the censorship, and everyone seems to be offended by something, right? Or gets they're gets taken off a little bit about whatever language or verbiage that people are using. But the one thing that I always kind of go by on a day-to-day basis when I'm working with people is hurt people, right? And we continue to have that cycle, always repeating itself. We have to be able to help heal, right? Acknowledge that the problem is there. We have to be able to, forgive. There's so many different steps, but that's a lot of it. Accepting it, acknowledging it, being able to forgive yourself, forgive others, and allowing yourself to heal, right? And getting those resources and those people in your corner that are going to help you. And that's always going to be the case. There's no, those are some of the constants, but the way that everybody finds that, and the support that everybody's able to that works best for them, is always going to be different. But the activities and the routines, they have to be there, constantly, daily. You're always working on it. It has to do with your environment. There's so many different things, and it's such a nuanced. Humans are very, very complex creatures, and it all comes down to support, and being able to, in training, really, and learning, and being able to get better and to grow. And I for one have been able to, grow in so many areas coming from my background, that now I'm able to help other people. And the one thing that I always tell, especially the kids, but really I tell everybody, is, I'm not perfect. I'm not, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, or I'm, a clinician or things like that. I've just had really good training. I've had really good examples and mentors to be able to help me get through some of the most just challenging parts of my life. And and really all I aim to do is just try to be the best person I can be every day, right? Be a better father, be a better husband, be a better friend, a son, a brother, an ape, whatever. I'm always trying to improve myself, and that's never going to stop. I'm never going to stop learning, and I'm never going to be able to do it all on my own. I have to be able to accept help. And there's so many people that can't accept help. They can't admit that they're wrong. They don't ever want to admit mistakes. And that's where we see this just we see it in our government and some of in our school system, and we see it on TV all the time, and these people seem insane, and they seem crazy, because they are, and if, and
Right.
And I'm gonna kind of wrap this up because I'll talk forever about this stuff. And I always welcome people to to reach out, and I'm getting more active on Twitter now that Facebook has been limiting me and kicking me off and censoring me over there. So I've kind of been moving over towards this space. My Instagram, No Bad Youth, it was inspired by a Catholic priest who started a famous group home by a little over 100 years ago out in the Midwest that's done amazing work, and the belief that there's no such thing as a bad kid. There's no such thing as a bad child. And, then in youth, we're learning, we're always constantly learning, and we don't know what we don't know. So how can we sit there and say that the youth are bad? Right. And we also know that the idea of being young, you're supposed to make mistakes, right? And we're only going to be as good as our teachers are and our environment is, and so I appreciate all you guys being on here. I know I've been reaching out and getting in touch with quite a few people on here, and I'm really grateful. And I've been improving myself. Especially when it comes to getting involved with with the stock market and and crypto and all that stuff, because it's I think it's important also to teach people how to be financially responsible, and looking towards the future. But when you have so many people that are just living day to day, check to check, it's really hard to focus on a lot of that stuff. So I'm just grateful for the time that I've got, and I appreciate you guys all being here, and I hope to be able to connect with many of you in the future and partner in different ways, and just gonna keep continuing to get myself out there to try to be the best service that I can be. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
You
I
go by
can't.
JR or Junior? I'm sorry, Audra.
Oh, I just wanted to say I can't follow you for some reason. I would like to, JR, but it won't let me. I don't know
Uh,
why.
Aw, dang.
well, probably some weird Twitter thing. Just try again a little bit later, I guess. But he's the last person we'll take for requests. So this is where we wrap it up. Audra, any final words?
I guess my final words is this. I think we just got to keep fighting, for free speech and for less censorship. And we have to, I think, watch the my mouth. As we continue to advocate for those ideals, I think that those ideals in the end will win. I really do, because if we keep canceling people that we don't like, I mean, look at Whoopi Goldberg, I'm not, but eventually nobody's going to be able to say anything, is what I'm saying. So eventually this nonsense does have to stop, and it will have an end point. So that's what I have.
Okay. Tara, any final words?
I really liked a lot of what JR just said, and especially his statement about hurt people hurt people. That's something that I say a lot and that I try to live by. And one of the reasons why I found forgiveness for people who have hurt me, so that I'm not carrying around that burden of hurt and then in turn hurting others. So I think that is a true statement. And another thing I wanted to say and just kind of add to the conversation is this human need and want for validation. I think everybody deserves and wants to feel validated in some way, shape, or form. And so this idea of cancel culture, that's why it's so toxic and it's so detrimental. Let people cancel themselves. Let them speak. Let them say stupid things. They will hurt themselves in the end. They will do it to themselves. They will have to insert their foot into their mouths. And yeah, as a society, we do kind of have to put, constraints on things. But at the same time, just completely removing people from platforms, there has to be some sort of, you have to draw the line somewhere. So I don't know. It's such a it's such a interesting double-edged sword, but I appreciate this conversation so much, Adam, and I look forward to you doing this again, and hopefully being here and being a part of it, because I just love hearing what people have to say and have to add to it, and experiencing it firsthand has really, I guess I'm woke now. You could say, like, I am awake to the powers at be, and I feel like we're battling. We're in. It's almost like a war right now, information war. So. Thank you so much, Adam, for being an advocate and using your platform to try to get, free thinkers elevated and their voices elevated. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tara. So, my final words. I guess one of the things about free speech is, being able to take in all different types of information, good information, bad information, whatever it may be. But taking that information, now what do you do with it? You decipher what needs to be discarded, what needs to be considered. We've taken in a ton of information, especially in the past couple of years, about big tech, what their motives may be, how they operate, who they censor, why they censor, right? So throughout this entire conversation, we know what they're doing, right? We have all the information. Now it's time for us to act accordingly. So what I'm saying is, Twitter is not completely our enemy. The very fact that we are talking on Twitter right now and we're able to organize, we're able to do so, but we're doing it in a smart manner, right? Same thing with voicing your opinions. You have to understand that it is their turf, unfortunately. And until something drastic happens, we have to play by the rules, but we just have to be smart about it. So I'm an advocate for expressing yourself, but it sounds like certain platforms have limitations for expression. And so what I'm saying is find alternative ways to express yourself, but don't give up on expressing yourself. Have realistic expectations of Twitter. If you know that saying certain things will get you banned or shadow banned, then just don't say those things, because it's far worth it for you to stay and be part of the conversation, but modify how you say it. Unfortunately, you got to self-censor to stay in one of the biggest platforms that exist. So I want people to be smart, and you can be a rebel, but just be smart about it. You can have certain conversations, but just be wise about it. Look for alternative platforms. If people want to write an article for Wrong Speak, contact me. Find a way for you to express yourself. Go to alternative websites. I suggest going to slug.com. It's a free speech platform. Go on there and say whatever you want. Get into arguments if you want. It don't matter to me. But just find a way to express yourself. The last thing I'll say is there are certain groups of people that like it that some of you have avatars that don't use your real name, right? They like it that you're scared. There's a reason why I use my full name. This is my real name. My middle initial is B. My initials are ABC. That's a real thing. This is what I look like, right? I don't hide myself, and I don't hide myself for a reason. It's because I'm not scared. I'm not scared of any sort of retaliation. I'm not scared of being canceled, because I've been through far worse things than someone calling me a name. I know what my viewpoints are. I don't care if someone calls me a white supremacist, racist, Uncle Tom, coon. I don't care, right? Because it's far more important for me to express myself, for me to accept myself, and to be moral in the process. And if I'm doing those things, then so be it. I'll be a white supremacist sympathizer, coon, Uncle Tom, whatever it may be. But I'm being me, and that's who I am. And you be yourself. So don't let anybody scare you and make you feel afraid, right? Because that's how they have power. So are you going to give up your power, or are you going to accept that you have the power to show yourself, express yourself, and fuck what they think? So that's my final words. I want to say thank you again to the panel. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Audra, for joining. The other ladies had to leave. We do this every week. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. Different topic every week, different panel, same host. If you want to listen to old episodes, you can go to agoodfaithspace.com. We've had a bunch of different interesting conversations. Check them out. We're always adding previous conversations. So once again, thank you, Tara. Thank you, Audra, for being on here. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.
No,
it was
thank
wonderful.
you.
Nice to meet you, Audra, and the others as well.
Nice to meet you, and thank you.
All right. Everybody, have a great night. Stay safe, sleep well, and express yourself. I think that's the last thing I could say. Express yourself. Be you. Have a good one.